Hello, I'm Eliza.
I'm Matthew.
I'm preparing for an interview at school tomorrow for an AI literacy advisor role, and I wanted to ask my dear husband Matthew a few questions to help me prepare for the interview. And it just struck us both that it could be helpful to video it because it might possibly be interesting to other people, and it will also help me obviously record what I need to learn. So hello, we just only got about 15 minutes, so we've got to squeeze it into the Sunday day, and I'm also not feeling 100% well, but we'll do our best. So Matthew, my interview will be about how I can support students and teachers at Wellington College to sort of make the most of AI and navigate AI successfully and wisely. And I've got a lot of thoughts about that, sort of pedagogically speaking, but I'm interested in asking you some of the questions that are more sort of technical in nature to help me understand more deeply how AI really works, and then to be able to apply that in an educational context. So my first question is, what do you think that every teacher and every student should know, in an ideal world, about how AI works?
About how AI works, I guess, about how the current generation of large language models, ChatGPT and things that everyone are using.
Yes, because I've come from that background where for a couple of years we said, oh, it's like a giant predictive text machine and an LLM just predicts the next most likely word. But I understand that things have moved on from there, but I don't think I've got a really clear understanding of where they've gone.
And my understanding won't be perfect either, but I would say they're still, the engine is still predicting the next most likely word, given everything that's been said before. But where things have moved on since that is that the large language models now have a suite of tools. That's one point. They've got a suite of tools that they can choose from. So they may predict, it would be helpful to go and search the web to answer whatever the question is. Or it might be helpful to write a little computer program in order to answer this little maths question that you have. And there might be a whole bunch of other tools that they have access to like that. Or I mentioned earlier, referring to a memory, that it may have recorded a bunch of memories that it sort of knows that you are interested in these 10 topics, and it might notice that this question is related to one of those, so it's good to refer to.
So can I just ask a question there? It sounds like you're talking about a user who's got an ongoing account with one particular LLM, which is probably going to be a paid account?
Not necessarily.
So,
like if you're with ChatGPT, you may just sign up with ChatGPT using your Google account or whatever, and it'd be recording memories based on that.
so is in the instance of ChatGPT or another LLM, is the LLM forming a kind of profile of you and responding according to that profile?
Yes, to some extent. Most of them will have an area somewhere in the settings that where you can access the list of memories that it has about you.
Right.
Yeah.
Would those lists of memories be direct recordings of interactions, or would they be interpretations that the LLM has made from the interaction?
Interpretations would be things like Matthew is
highly intelligent.
Yeah. Or it might have inferred a job that I have or a project that I'm working on that it thinks might be useful down the track for answering the context.
So when it says things like, so for example, I recently did a sort of exercise where I was imagining I was a student looking up sources for writing a speech. And then when I looked at the sources that ChatGPT had given me, one of them was just complete garbage. It was AI slop.
Yeah.
And I said, I obviously I only want, I don't think I said obviously, but I only want reputable, established sources. I can't remember, credible, I can't remember the exact wording I used.
This is what you're saying to the student.
This is what I said to the LLM.
Right.
And then it came back and said, oh, of course, I'll only include robust sources from now on. Is that the kind of thing that would go into my memory?
I mean, the whole memories thing is not very important in my experience.
Okay.
It's a minor thing. One thing that does raise for me, though, is the whole area of research or deep research, which most of the providers offer. Some of them only on paid plans, but some, like I think Google Gemini, will let you use a certain number of times of deep research, and that's where you ask it a question, you turn on the deep research or research switch, and it will go away for 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes even, and might look at 100 or 200 or 300 resources that are available on the open internet, so stuff that's Googleable, and try and synthesize stuff to answer a question. And my experience is that is often quite reliable for instance, I've used it in my studies to assemble a reading list. Please give me a reading list about this niche topic that I'm interested in. Was away for a while.
And so when you're using the deep research function, do you ever, it doesn't hallucinate sources in that context?
That's my experience.
That's your experience.
And then when it's writing, when it writes a kind of research report, every sentence basically will have a little citation of why it said that.
Right, and you'd be able to go and click on all those independently. Okay, and so do you know much about Gemini, or are you just assuming it will probably have functionality like that?
I know that Gemini. Last time I looked into it, Gemini was the leader on this deep research. They're all doing roughly similar things, but some will pull ahead at different times and at different emphases. And it happened that Gemini does the best of these reports.
Of course, Gemini is the most relevant for us as a Google school, and it's the one that we are moving towards turning on for different year levels.
But I don't know if that's actually any of this is necessarily answering your question of what is it most important that students and teachers know. Most important, I think, is probably that they're still very prone to plausible rubbish.
Yeah.
And you can test that by, if there's some area of knowledge that you have deep understanding of, ask it questions about that and just see what it feels like.
Yes, we'll still get, for example, sort of plot summaries from texts that we might teach, which are plausible garbage. Like The Fat Boy by Owen Marshall, for example, quite a well-known, in New Zealand, quite a well-known short story. Last year, when I looked up a plot summary of it, when I started reading it, I was like, oh yeah, and then I was like, hang on a second.
And it's probably not in its training data. It's not available on the open internet, not searchable by it. But if you uploaded a PDF of The Fat Boy and asked it to please summarise the plot, it'll probably do a good job.
Yes. So that's a good question to ask. Like, what do you think AI is really good at? And we don't need to be cautious now about cognitive offloading and so forth in the context of this question, because that's like a pedagogical question I'm thinking about. But what are some of the tasks that it's really good at that you use on a daily or weekly basis?
One is going from a big thing to a little thing, summarising. Yeah. If you have a large text that needs to become a small text, or meeting transcript that needs to become meeting minutes or actions, excellent at that. I love it for just if I'm having a meeting with someone or a group and I ask, can I record it, just an audio file on my phone, and then drop the transcript into any of the large language models, and it does a great job of transcribing.
So any of Claude or Otter AI or Gemini, any of those could do that. Okay.
What it's amazing at is programming. They're all the different platforms are sort of fighting with each other to be the best coding model, and it's really worth experimenting with tools like Claude Code or Claude Cowork or ChatGPT. OpenAI's what do they call their one? Codex, for whipping out little apps that might help you do something. Like for me recently, it was collecting my receipts so I can send them to my employer for reimbursement. Yeah, very boring.
Also, you did that quick little app about school zones when we were looking for a school zone for a young person of our acquaintance.
I would say it'd be definitely worth any student or teacher experimenting with those tools.
Do you have an idea about a tool that I could ask Gemini or another LLM to create for me that would help me? You've seen quite a lot of my administrative and marking and planning tasks up close over many years and over many weekends and evenings. Like, does anything spring to mind for you?
I'd love to try some of the marking areas, but where if you had some detailed rubric. Or I'd love to try coaching writing if you had some really good textbook or other kind of authoritative source. It would be interesting to see what the current...
we do have an app at the moment called Writer's Toolbox, which is not generative, but which we are using for that purpose. I'm quite hesitant about the marking, as you know, because I feel that marking, although it's probably not my favourite part of teaching, is really, really important information for me to get about each student's progress. And in English, not just their progress, but actually them as a person, because writing is such a personal endeavour.
And I'm kind of conflating things, because you were asking, could we use the tools to make could we use the AI tools to make little helpful modular tools for you? Whereas I was sort of saying, could we use AI for things, which is sort of a different...
One example that crops up to me administratively is that I've got quite a lot of double entry to do when I do marking. So, for example, I might make a formative comment on each student's work in a Google Classroom context, and then I cut and paste that, usually as I go, into my own Markbook spreadsheet, so that when I'm doing reports, I can quickly check, how were they going on that task? And so I'm wondering, would we have privacy concerns, or would that be, do you think, a helpful, could I train something that would look on my Google Classroom and
maybe. It's hard to, it's so specific, it's hard to see how it would suck in. Yeah, I can't see that one being an easy one.
Okay, interesting.
Working between different packages like that, and the tool needing to have access to both and know where to put things and where to get things
Gemini
from.
will have access to my Google Classrooms, wouldn't it? If I give it access? I don't know.
Yeah, then this question is, are you asking the AI to do this job, or are you wanting the AI to write a tool so that you can do that thing easier?
I see. Okay. So perhaps a good thing for me to do would be to come up with a short list of little tasks that I feel could save me time, but not erode my core business as a teacher, my core sort of purpose and relationships. But I'm also conscious that AI might be able to do things beyond what I can currently imagine, and in fact, giving enough students formative feedback on a regular and frequent basis is one of the real challenges, because there just isn't enough time. You know, imagine I'm working with approximately 100 students. You know, ideally every student would get a sort of detailed comment or piece of feedback at least once a week, if not more. You know, and that just can't happen. We couldn't. You're also planning and marking and all those things.
You could. I mean, it'd be interesting to experiment with if we've got a record of lots and years of comments of the sort that you've done. Fine tuning an existing model based on samples of that stuff, so that it has a reasonable idea of how it might suggest to other students. Virtual Eliza.
Based on me, based on the feedback that I give. Well, that's a fun idea.
But it's interesting. It's I don't know the detail of your work, how you actually spend a day.
No.
It's not easy for me to guess what will actually be useful for saving time.
A fun little research project that maybe we could do is you could come and observe my work for a day, and then, or perhaps other teachers, and then make suggestions.
Yeah.
Although, of course, there are educators who are working in the AI field who are doing this stuff too. Earlier today, we've got to finish up in a few minutes, but earlier today we were also talking about when, if at all, did we think students needed to learn AI at school. A lot of people say, they'll get left behind, and I wondered, do you have much sympathy for that argument, or how do you see that one?
Not really. Well, to me the basics are much more important, reading and writing and numeracy, being able to present your ideas, oratory basically, I suppose, that those are the things that really that humans have needed to be able to do forever and will need to keep doing forever, and are unfakeable, and picking up any particular AI tool is not very hard.
It's quite intuitive, really. Yeah,
if it happened at the last year or two of schooling, it'd be fine. I mean, it would make sense that they'd be involved with other points for other reasons, but I don't think there's a big risk of people being left behind by not getting enough AI.
Cool. A little like, I often draw the analogy with driving a car, although that may in itself be becoming outdated, but we perhaps want our 16-year-olds to learn to drive a car. They don't have to learn at 12.
Yeah. And the risk seems like the obvious greater risk is students being lazy and opting out of learning by letting the chatbot do it.
Yeah, for sure. Also, we talked about the idea of the quality of your input if you are using AI, and that related back to what you were saying about you actually have to be able to articulate your ideas or questions or instructions clearly in order to get a high quality output from the LLMs.
And the more skilled and the more knowledge and more context that you have, the more you can elicit from the tool, like any tool in a sense.
Yeah.
I gave that example of Steve Hsu, the physicist, who in last December published a paper where he said the key idea came from, it was in quantum mechanics, and the key idea came from GPT-5, which was very interesting that it could actually do that kind of very serious knowledge work, but it couldn't do it without him. I couldn't elicit from the LLM's physics discovery. It's conceivable that in the future, it's possible you could say, please research this area, I'm vaguely interested in, to come up with something, but would I be able to evaluate, was it a robust finding or not? Unlikely.
So there's an idea of partnership there almost
Yeah.
emerging, isn't there, of actually being in partnership with an LLM, but you have to pull your weight in order for it to be able to do its weight.
I like Sean Gawley, the New Zealand entrepreneur. He's over in the States these days, but his phrase, augmented intelligence.
Yeah.
Um,
Also, just to finish up, we also talked about kind of the idea you mentioned. It's actually incredibly early days, and if we were 4 years into the automobile or the printing press, we would have had no idea what the ultimate ramifications, uses, side effects and so forth would be.
So some humility about grand proclamations about exactly what these mysterious things are and how they're going to affect things. Who knows?
Combination of humility, listening to a range of voices.
Yep. And I would say forming learning communities, if we could be open about how we're using them and open to being corrected and tested and be chatting about it, would be useful, I think.
Awesome. And also, do you see a role for sort of fundamental principles that people want to apply underneath their experimentation, or you tend to be less guided by that?
The only one, I'm not sure, I don't, the only one that comes to mind, it doesn't even feel like a fundamental principle exactly, but it's the thing about, the thing that's doing the work gets the learning.
Yeah. That's one of the main ones for me, the one who does the thinking gets the learning, but also I see education as happening within relationships, and one of the areas of possible concern for me is that AI might interfere with, erode or supplant human relationships.
I would say it does happen within relationships from my perspective, and that if I don't have good relationships, it will be hard for me to learn well. But having good relationships, I find I can learn a great deal using the ChatGPT and things. For instance, fixing Dad's diesel motorhome the other day in an area I know nothing about. It was amazing, yeah. Or aspects of programming that I've learned through online tutorials, no relationship, or Stack Overflow, or these days ChatGPT or other things.
I guess it's an interesting question. You're a person who's got a lot of intact relationships.
Yeah.
So
but I don't need them for the learning.
No,
exactly.
Yes, I guess that is a slightly different scenario to our students mostly, I think.
Hopefully they've got intact relationships and they might be able to draw on a variety of strategies, some that use those relationships and some that use books or...
Well, I think we could look at the rise of anxiety, depression, suicidality, online pornography, including AI girlfriends and so forth, to suggest that actually there is a danger of the erosion of real face-to-face human relationships for our young people. I think that is a real danger.
That's why I'm glad that WC got rid of smartphones from schools.
Yeah, I am too.
A while ago.
Thank you very much. It was very nice to talk to you. I hope it's been of interest to whoever happens to watch this video, and you're great.
Thanks, so are you.